Yeah, you staged it! You staged it! Stacey, you staged it! Beautiful presenter! Child abuser! You Stacey! You're a child abuser! You child abuser! You child abuser! Where's Jimmy Savile? Where's Jimmy Savile? Get back! Traitor!
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent...
I want to be crystal clear. I strongly denounce the violent far-right chaos we witnessed over the weekend. Let there be no mistake, those who took part in these scenes will be held fully accountable. The police are already moving in with arrests, and those detained will not simply walk away. They'll face remand, charges, and ultimately, convictions. Anyone who thought they could stir up violence online and then vanish into the background should think again. Your actions will come back to haunt you. This was not a protest. This was not free expression. This was calculated, organized thuggery. And then, as if the political climate wasn't already tense, Keir Starmer stepped onto the stage expecting the usual polite reception, perhaps some applause, maybe even a standing ovation. But instead of warmth, he walked straight into a storm every politician dreads: heckles, boos, and a rising tide of anger from the very people he assumed were on his side. At first, it looked like something minor, a few scattered voices of discontent. But within moments, it swelled into a roar. The crowd's frustration wasn't hidden, it was written on their faces. Curious glances hardened into scowls, and muttered grumbles turned into open shouts. The scene shifted from uncomfortable to downright hostile in seconds. Starmer tried to carry on, raising his voice above the noise, but the louder he spoke, the louder the audience responded. What he faced wasn't just mild resistance, it was a full-scale public humiliation. Criminal. You're a criminal. Shame. 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 The chants echoed through the hall like daggers. But how did things spiral so quickly? Why had a room full of supposed supporters turned against him so viciously? As Labour leader, Starmer probably assumed he was standing before friendly faces, an audience ready to give him the benefit of the doubt. Instead, what he saw were folded arms, narrowed eyes, and murmurs of discontent before he had even spoken a word. The atmosphere was icy from the start, and within moments, it became undeniable this was not going to be the warm, confident reception he had counted on. He began with the economy, repeating his familiar talking points about stability and growth. But the audience wasn't buying it. Silence. Arms crossed. Faces blank. His pivot to Brexit brought no relief. Instead of applause, there were eye rolls and whispers rippling through the crowd. Then came the breaking point, his refusal to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. That's when the first boo rang out, slicing through the silence like a blade. Starmer flinched. More boos followed, louder, angrier. Within seconds, the tension boiled over into outright hostility. One woman shouted, demanding answers about children caught in the crossfire. Others joined in, calling out their own frustrations. Starmer tried to push through, raising his voice in defiance, but by then, the hall was gone. He had lost them completely. True democracy, voices shouted, must be led by the people. We want a people's house. We demand change. Our future is at stake. On stage, Labour MPs shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One scribbled furiously into a notebook, pretending to focus. Another stared down at her phone, as if wishing she could disappear into it. Even Starmer's closest allies looked like they wanted to sink through the floor. And then, the exodus began. Row after row stood up, filing out of the hall. Some muttered angrily, others made sure to boo one last time before slamming the door behind them. By the end, it was undeniable, Starmer had not only lost the speech, he had lost the room. This wasn't just a bad night. It was another brutal blow in a long series of missteps that have left his leadership looking weaker by the day. For months, Labour supporters have been restless, uneasy, wondering if their leader truly represents them. This moment confirmed their doubts. Starmer has long struggled with the Brexit divide. Back in 2016, he was one of the loudest remaining voices, pushing for a second referendum. Now, he urges everyone to simply move on, as if the wounds of Brexit could just be forgotten. But the scars remain. Pro-Brexit Labour voters feel abandoned, while staunch Remain supporters feel betrayed. In trying to straddle both sides, Starmer has managed to satisfy no one. His economic pledges don't inspire confidence either. They sound more like recycled conservative slogans than a bold Labour vision. Words like fiscal responsibility and stability may please the establishment, but they leave the grassroots cold. Add to that his refusal to call for a ceasefire in Gaza, and many Labour members feel betrayed by a party they once trusted to stand up for justice. Behind closed doors, frustration is mounting. Whispers of leadership challenges are growing louder, and some MPs are already exploring their options. Starmer was supposed to be the steady hand who could rebuild trust and guide Labour back to Downing Street. But the polls tell a different story, support is slipping, and each new controversy digs the hole deeper. Unless he changes course fast, his leadership could collapse before the next election. And if the Southport fiasco wasn't enough, his recent shift on Donald Trump has left Labour supporters stunned. For years, Starmer himself blasted Trump's divisive politics and damaging global influence. Labour branded him a threat to democracy. Yet suddenly, Starmer has praised elements of Trump's approach to international affairs, even suggesting closer UK cooperation. For many supporters, this was the final straw. How can a party that once stood firmly against Trump now signal admiration? To grassroots members, it feels like betrayal. Social media erupted with outrage. MPs themselves are split, some furious, others uneasy but silent. And as Starmer tilts toward the center in hopes of winning over conservative voters, he risks alienating the very base that Labour has relied on for generations. The result is a party drifting into an identity crisis. Is Labour still the progressive, justice-driven movement it once was? Or has it become a centrist machine willing to trade principle for power? No one seems certain, and that uncertainty is eating away at public trust. Now Starmer stands at a crossroads. Can he win back the confidence of his supporters, or has his cautious, calculating leadership already sealed his fate? His team may dismiss the Southport chaos as just a tough crowd, but that would be dangerously naive. This wasn't ordinary heckling. It was a loud, unmistakable rejection. And it's not an isolated incident, it's part of a wider pattern, a steady erosion of support that can no longer be ignored. As Starmer himself declared, violent disorder will face justice. But politically, he may be facing his own reckoning. What was meant to be a rallying speech turned into a warning sign, a signal that time could be running out. So the big question now, can Starmer turn things around, or are we witnessing the slow unraveling of Labour under his leadership? Will he adapt, or will the backlash only grow louder? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.